Well, hello, boys and girls. How are you doing today? It's when I feel like at o'clock, post rum o'clock, and I've got I have enough liquid courage to get up here and start talking about the Minnesota Wild. I've been doing a series on what would I do in if I what would I do if I were each NHL team, something like that, or projections of what they're going to do. It's basically a summer happenings or May happenings series. I've called it several things. I don't know. I can't come up with a title I like, so I just keep on changing it all the time. Something you can do and nobody ever watches your videos. Yeah. Anyways, so I did an Edmonton one, I've done a Pittsburgh one, Nashville, Chicago. Um, Go check them out on my NHL Pearls of Wisdom, boys and girls. And like you already have it, why wouldn't you have already watched them? Jeez, I mean, it's silly for me to even say that. I hope you have your pencils out. And if you don't have any, remember, always over by the lube dispenser there, just pick one up and get your books all ready, get all comfortable, and be prepared for these fine pearls of wisdom with our Minnesota Wild. Um, the Minnesota Wild, it seems to have got themselves in a bit of a quandary when it comes to expansion. Let me say that I picked them to make the finals and the playoffs last year. So, yeah, that was mostly because of Bruce Boudreau, and I thought that he would get more out of that team than he did. The stigma of him not being able to do in the playoffs remains, although I know he'll get out of that eventually. However, I should have known, like Chuck Fletcher and his management team have really done a erratic job of building this team. Right from the time that they brought in Parise and Suter and gave them huge contracts, and the Pominville contract, well, yeah. And now they have themselves in a position where it's looking like they're going to lose a really good person and good player in expansion. Maybe I can't totally blame him for that. He kind of went for it. He wanted team depth. He'll worry about the expansion afterwards. But with a lot of the moves that they've made, this just seems like there wasn't much foresight involved. And that's kind of how this team sort of looks like. Like there really isn't much foresight involved. That being said, they have some good prospects coming up in Eck and Barchi, I think is how you say his name. And Olofsson, defenseman that's coming up. So it's going to make the expansion thing a little better than you think. If you're a Minnesota Wild fan, I don't think it's going to be that bad. If you do the 7-3 and with one goaltender, what you're left with is you have to keep Spurgeon, you have to keep Dumba. I would say that would be definitely my choice, and Suter. Then you're left with possibly leaving out Brodin and Scandala, which isn't what you don't want to lose those kind of assets like that. That's for sure. And with your forwards, if you go 7 forwards, you've got Jason Zucker, Hola, and Gralvich. Now, Jason Zucker was your second line winger last year. You could probably replace him in the free agent market to a certain degree, but he's a good young player and he's a good young asset that you don't really want to lose. So it really comes down to, I can't tell you what I think they value more. Scandala's contract is 2 more years at $4 million around there. Brodin is like 4 or 5, but he's a lot younger at the same amount. Brodin probably has more upside than Scandala. Scandala is what he is. He's a defensive defenseman that can play in the top 4, but probably on a really good team would be more of a 5-6. So probably you want to lose him if you can, considering you have Olofsson coming in and probably ready to play next year. And you still have Fallin, who is going to be a good 5-6 and could even be higher than that. That being said, let's say you wanted to keep Scandala and Brodin. What you could do is go to Vegas and say, tell you what, We'll give you Falling, who's probably a good young player, 5'6", and you can also take, depending on how much you like it, you can also take Zucker, as long as you leave those two. Now, I think that's a little rich to leave those two. I'd probably just leave Scandala out. And I don't necessarily think Vegas would need to get Zucker to make that deal. You could probably offer up Holla or Grauwich or both. You could just say, take either any one of these players and Falling, and we're good. Which isn't a bad idea. Now, on the other hand, in fact, actually, now that I'm talking about it, that's probably what you should do. Offer up Falling and Grauwich or Holla, which would probably be Holla. Holla's a good young player that's shown that he can score a little bit. They could probably get good assets from him, and maybe you got to throw in a draft pick, and you can keep. But now, on the other hand, if Scandala does make $4 million for the next 2 years, you have a young player that's coming up. So you could say, I'll tell you what, take Scandala, take Scandala, and for not taking Brodin, because we think he's got greater upside, we'll throw you Grauwich as well, or a draft pick, or whatever the case may be. So like I said, it doesn't seem like you're going to lose that much. It's probably going to work out okay for you. Well, as far as what they're going to do for the rest of their summer, Chuck Fletcher, I'm not sure exactly what he'll do. He doesn't have much cap space. There's been talk to buy out Pominville's contract. Probably not a bad idea, but that's going to be a lot of cap space for a lot of years. I don't know what they're going to do with that contract. If they can find a way to some team that needs to hit the floor and give them a draft pick to get rid of it, great. Because what they really need is a true number one center. And Koivu is a good player, a very good player. He doesn't put up high points, but he plays like top-notch minutes. And defensively is fantastic. Probably underrated. But you need a really good center that can possibly be in the 60 to 70 point range. Maybe Duchesne, but what do you give up for him? Now you got to go back to the well and say, you'd have to give up an Olofsson, a first-round pick, probably Zucker or something like that. A whole bunch of your Ek, those are going to take those kind of guys to get a guy like Duchesne. Probably what I see is going to happen is they're going to go with pretty much the same unit that they have, and hope that another year with Boudreau will bring greater results. And that's probably the only real option they do have with the lineup that they have. Anyways, boys and girls, I got to slip into a nice hot Nutella bath, let all the impurities leak out of my soul, mind, and body. And also, of course, then it's rum o'clock. So that's all I got for you. That's my full 42%. Make sure you subscribe and watch all my other videos. I've got one on Kovalchuk, I got one on Subban, I got one on Crosby that I just did, and of course the teams that I'm doing right now. It's at my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. Lots of love to you. Have a great day.